The sky was a deep shade of violet, fading slowly into the darkness of night. Elira stumbled through the rocky landscape, her steps heavy and uneven. The air was dry and cold, and the wind whispered through the jagged stones, carrying a lonely sound that made her heart ache. She was alone. She stopped for a moment, gasping for breath. Her clothes were torn and dusty, her skin covered in scratches from the harsh terrain. Elira's eyes scanned the horizon, searching for any sign of life or shelter. But all she saw was emptiness, endless hills of cracked earth, and sharp rocks under a strange foreign sky. She reached out and touched a stone, feeling its rough surface. It was cold like everything else around her. Elira's hand shook as she pulled herself forward. Hunger bit into her stomach like a fierce beast, and thirst burned her throat dry. She had no water left, no food, just the cold night and the growing fear inside her. Her mind flashed back to the crash, the terrible moment when her ship had lost control and slammed into this unknown world. She had been on a secret mission, sent by her people to study this planet and gather information. But now, the mission was forgotten. Survival was all that mattered. Elira fell to her knees and pressed her forehead against the cold ground. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she wiped them away quickly. She could not afford to cry. Not now. She had to be strong. Slowly, she got up and began to walk again. Every step was a struggle, but she forced herself forward. Somewhere, she hoped to find water or a sign of life. Even the smallest hope was better than giving up. The stars above were bright and cold, watching silently as Elira moved through the night. She thought about her home, a planet far away, full of life and light. She missed her family and her friends. She missed safety. A sudden noise made her freeze. Somewhere in the distance, something was moving. It was soft at first, then louder. Elira's heart pounded. Was it a wild animal? A predator? She could not run. She was too weak. The wind carried the sound closer. A rustling in the bushes, a low growl. Elira's eyes widened with fear. She looked around for a place to hide but saw nothing. She was trapped. She took a deep breath and tried to steady her hands. She had to be calm. Panic would only make things worse. Then, out of the darkness, two glowing eyes appeared. They watched her, bright and sharp. The creature stepped forward slowly, its large body moving with quiet power. It was unlike anything Elira had ever seen, a strange mix of reptile and mammal, with thick fur and sharp claws. Elira's breath caught in her throat. She backed away slowly, but the creature blocked her path. There was nowhere to go. She remembered the small knife she carried, a gift from her people. It was sharp but small. She held it tightly, ready to defend herself. The creature growled softly, but it did not attack. Instead, it tilted its head and watched her curiously. Elira lowered the knife a little, unsure what to do. The night grew colder, and the silence returned. The creature moved back into the shadows and disappeared. Elira's heart raced, but she was still alive. She wiped the sweat from her brow and continued walking. She needed to find shelter before the morning. Hours passed like this, slow steps, careful movements. Elira's body screamed for rest, but her mind would not stop. She thought of her mission, her people, and the danger this planet held. At last, she saw something in the distance, a faint glow, like a small fire. Her hope rose. Maybe someone else was here. She hurried toward the light, her legs gaining strength for a moment. As she came closer, she saw a small campfire and a figure sitting beside it. The figure was human, a man with rough clothes and kind eyes. He looked up as she approached, surprised but calm. "Are you hurt?" he asked. Elira nodded slowly, too tired to speak. The man smiled gently and held out a container filled with fresh fruit and water. "Here, you need this." Elira looked at the food, unsure if it was real or a trick. But hunger was stronger than doubt. She took the fruit and ate it slowly, feeling life return to her body. The man introduced himself as Marcus. He said he was an explorer, traveling the stars like her. Elira's heart lifted. For the first time since the crash, she felt hope. Maybe she was not alone after all. The cold night was quiet except for the soft whisper of the wind moving through the dry grass. Elira's legs shook with weakness, and her breath came in short, painful gasps. She had walked all day under the burning sun, hoping to find water or shelter, but the empty land stretched endlessly around her. The stars blinked cold and distant overhead, and the silence pressed on her like a heavy weight. She sat down slowly, her body heavy and tired. Her hands trembled as she looked at her empty stomach. Hunger gnawed at her, sharp and cruel. Fear wrapped around her heart. She was lost, alone. No one was coming to help her. Elira's thoughts drifted to her ship, the small craft that had crashed many hours ago. She had been on a secret mission, sent by her people to gather information about this strange planet. Now, her mission was forgotten. All that mattered was survival. Suddenly, a shadow moved at the edge of her vision. Elira froze, her heart pounding fast. She scanned the dark and saw a figure coming closer, slow, steady steps. She wanted to run, but her body was too weak. She could only watch. The figure came closer and stepped into the moonlight. Elira's eyes widened in surprise. It was a human, a man dressed in rugged clothes, carrying a small pack on his back. His face was kind but serious, and his eyes showed both caution and curiosity. "Are you hurt?" the man asked softly, his voice calm and gentle. Elira looked at him, unsure if she could trust this stranger. Humans were not known to be friendly in her world. They were explorers and sometimes conquerors, but rarely helpers. Still, she was too tired to be suspicious. I am lost," she said quietly, her voice weak. "I have no food, no water." The man nodded and reached into his pack. He pulled out a small container filled with bright fresh fruit and some water in a metal bottle. "Here, you need to eat," he said. Elira hesitated, looking at the food as if it was a strange gift from another world. Hunger pulled her forward, and slowly she took the fruit. It was sweet and juicy, and as she ate, strength returned to her limbs. The water tasted cool and clean, soothing her dry throat. "Thank you," she whispered. "My name is Marcus," the man said, settling down a short distance from her. "I'm an explorer like you. I was searching for something, but I found you instead." Elira nodded, feeling a strange warmth growing inside her chest. For the first time since her ship crashed, she felt a small spark of hope. "Why did you help me?" she asked. Marcus smiled, a gentle and honest smile. "Because I know what it's like to be lost and afraid. This planet is not easy to survive on. We humans, we believe in helping each other when we can." Elira looked at Marcus's face carefully. His eyes held no lies, no tricks. He was different from the others she had heard about. He was kind. "Can you help me get home?" she asked, her voice trembling with uncertainty. Marcus stood up and offered his hand to her. "We'll figure it out. But for now, you need rest. The night is dangerous, and it's better if we stay close." Elira took his hand and stood up, feeling steadier than before. As they walked together, Marcus told her about Earth, his home planet. He spoke of wide oceans, green forests, and cities full of life and light. Elira listened, fascinated by his words. She had heard stories about humans, but hearing it from one was different. It made the distant planet feel closer somehow. In return, Elira told Marcus about her people, how they lived on a planet with purple skies and tall crystal trees. She described the technology they used and the customs they followed. Though their worlds were different, both shared a deep desire to explore and understand the universe. As the hours passed, the two strangers built a quiet friendship. Marcus showed Elira how to find edible plants and how to avoid the dangers of the night. Elira, in turn, shared her knowledge of the stars and the strange creatures that roamed this land. Suddenly, a low growl echoed from the shadows nearby. Both froze. Marcus grabbed a small tool from his belt, a glowing stick that could stun animals. Elira's heart raced as she scanned the darkness. Out of the bushes came a large creature, its eyes glowing fiercely. It was unlike anything Elira had seen before, part reptile, part mammal, with sharp teeth and long claws. It growled again and started to move toward them. Marcus stepped forward, holding the glowing stick steady. "Stay behind me," he said firmly. Elira's breath caught in her throat, but she obeyed. Marcus's hand was steady, his body ready to defend. The creature lunged, but the glowing stick sent a burst of light and energy, causing it to stop and retreat. The creature growled once more, but slowly disappeared back into the darkness. Marcus turned to Elira, his face serious but calm. "Are you okay?" he asked. Elira nodded, her fear melting into relief. "Thank you. You saved me." Marcus smiled again. "We look out for each other. That's how we survive." As the night grew colder, Marcus built a small fire. They sat close together, sharing warmth and stories. Elira felt something she had not felt in a long time. A connection. A bond of trust. She looked at Marcus and said, "I thought humans were harsh, unfeeling. But you are different." Marcus shook his head with a quiet laugh. "We have our faults, for sure. But when it counts, we can be strong and kind. Maybe that's what makes us human." Elira thought about those words. Maybe her fate was changing after all. The fire crackled softly as they watched the stars. Two strangers from different worlds, brought together by chance and kindness. Together, they faced the unknown. And together, they would find a way forward. The morning light slowly crept over the horizon, casting soft golden rays across the strange landscape. Elira awoke by the small campfire, her body still weak but stronger than the night before. The fresh fruit and water Marcus had given her had helped, but the journey ahead was still uncertain. Marcus was already awake, packing up his small camp. His movements were steady and calm, showing the experience of someone used to living in the wild. Elira watched him quietly, feeling a mix of gratitude and caution. "Are you ready to move?" Marcus asked, looking up with a gentle smile. Elira nodded, standing with more confidence than she had felt for days. "I must find help," she said simply. "My ship is broken, and I am far from home." Marcus studied her face, understanding the weight of her words. "I know a place not far from here," he said. "A small outpost where travelers rest and trade. It's not a city, but it has people who can help." Elira felt a spark of hope. "Then we should go there." They set off together, moving through the rocky terrain as the sun rose higher. Elira noticed how different Marcus was from the human she had heard about. He was kind, patient, and curious about her world. She wondered if all humans were like him, or if she had just been lucky to meet one. As they walked, Elira shared stories of her people. She spoke of a planet with purple skies and glowing forests, where technology and nature lived in balance. Marcus listened carefully, his eyes wide with interest. "We humans come from Earth," Marcus said in return. "It's a blue planet with oceans and forests, cities and mountains. We have much to learn about the universe, and sometimes we make mistakes. But we keep exploring because it's who we are." Elira thought about this. Despite their differences, both her people and humans shared a desire to explore and understand. Perhaps that was why Marcus had helped her. The journey was not easy. The land was harsh, with sharp stones and sudden drops. They had to cross a narrow canyon where a wrong step could mean falling to their deaths. Elira's heart pounded as she followed Marcus carefully, trusting his guidance. At one point, they found a small stream of water. Elira knelt beside it, drinking deeply. The cool water was a gift, refreshing and pure. Marcus smiled at her relief. "Nature can be cruel," he said, "but it also gives us what we need, if we pay attention." Elira nodded. She had learned to read the signs of nature on her own planet. But this place was different. Marcus's knowledge was valuable. As they traveled, Elira noticed how Marcus reacted to the strange sounds and movements around them. His eyes were sharp, always watching. He carried tools and small weapons, but he did not seem eager for violence. Instead, he used his mind to solve problems. Once, they came upon a field of glowing plants that seemed beautiful but dangerous. Marcus warned Elira not to touch them, explaining that their skin released toxins. Elira thanked him, realizing how important it was to learn from each other. Despite their growing trust, there was still a distance between them. Elira felt that Marcus kept some things to himself, and she did not ask. Trust was slow to build between two strangers from different worlds. One evening, as the sun set in bright oranges and reds, they made camp near a grove of tall trees. Marcus started a fire, and Elira helped gather wood. The warmth of the flames pushed back the cold, and the quiet night seemed less frightening. Sitting by the fire, Elira asked, "Why do you explore? Why do you risk so much?" Marcus looked into the flames for a moment before answering. "Because there is always something new to learn. Because the universe is bigger than any one planet or people. And because I believe we can make it better." Elira smiled softly. "I want to believe that too." They talked late into the night, sharing dreams and fears. Elira told Marcus about the mission she had been on before the crash. A secret journey to find an ancient artifact hidden on this planet. The artifact, her people believed, held power that could change the balance of the galaxy. Marcus listened carefully, his expression serious. "That kind of power is dangerous. But if it can help protect peace, it must be found." Elira felt a new weight on her shoulders. Her mission was not just about survival anymore. It was about protecting something important, something that could bring hope or destruction. The next day, as they prepared to leave the camp, a sudden sound caught their attention, a soft whistle from the distance. Marcus immediately moved toward the source, signaling Elira to stay behind. From behind a rocky outcrop, a group of figures appeared. They were humans, like Marcus, but their faces were hard and their eyes cold. They carried weapons and looked ready for trouble. Marcus stepped forward calmly. "We mean no harm," he said. "We are just travelers." One of the men sneered. "This planet is dangerous. We don't like strangers." Elira's heart raced. She was caught between two groups of humans, one who had helped her, and another who seemed ready to fight. Marcus raised his hands to show peace. "We are not your enemy. We are looking for help." The leader of the group studied Marcus for a long moment before lowering his weapon. "We will let you pass. For now. But be careful. Not everyone is as friendly as you." As the group left, Elira looked at Marcus with new respect. She realized that even among humans, there were differences, good and bad, kind and cruel. But Marcus had chosen kindness. They continued their journey, moving closer to the outpost Marcus had spoken of. Elira felt a growing strength inside her, a belief that with Marcus's help, she might find a way home. Together, they walked through the strange world, two uneasy allies bound by trust and hope. Each step brought them closer to the unknown, but also closer to a new future. The sun was high in the sky, beating down on the rocky land with fierce heat. Elira and Marcus moved carefully through a narrow valley, their eyes alert to every sound and movement. The landscape was still strange and wild, but Elira felt stronger with each step. She trusted Marcus more now, and that trust gave her courage. The valley was quiet at first, but the air began to change. A low rumble echoed from the distant hills, and the birds that had been flying above suddenly took flight in panic. Elira's heart quickened. Something was coming, something dangerous. Marcus stopped and held up his hand, signaling Elira to be silent. They crouched behind a large boulder, peering out into the open space ahead. Through the dust, they saw it, a massive creature moving steadily toward them. It was unlike anything Elira had ever seen. Taller than a man, covered in thick scales, with sharp horns curving from its head and long, powerful legs. Its eyes glowed a fierce red, and its breath came out in hot clouds. Elira's breath caught in her throat. She wanted to run, but Marcus held her firm. "Stay calm," he whispered. "We need a plan." The creature stopped near the edge of the valley, sniffing the air. It had noticed them. Marcus reached into his pack and pulled out a small device that emitted a high-pitched sound. The creature paused, then charged forward with a roar. Marcus reacted quickly, holding the device steady. The creature stumbled and slowed, confused by the noise. Elira took the moment to stand and ready her small knife. The beast recovered and charged again, this time faster and more furious. Elira and Marcus moved together, Marcus using the device to confuse the creature, Elira aiming to distract it and find a weak point. The battle was tense and dangerous. Elira felt her heart pounding as she dodged the creature's sharp claws and powerful tail. Marcus stayed close, shouting instructions and encouragement. Finally, Elira saw a chance. The creature's lay had a patch of soft skin beneath the scales. She lunged forward and made a quick cut. The creature howled in pain and stumbled back. It looked at Elira with angry eyes, but then it turned and fled into the hills. Elira sank to the ground, breathing hard. Marcus knelt beside her, smiling with relief. "You did well," he said. "Your courage saved us both." Elira smiled weakly. "I could not have done it without you." They rested for a moment, the sun warm on their faces. The danger had passed, but the encounter left a mark. Elira knew this planet held many threats, and they would have to be ready for whatever came next. As they continued their journey, Elira asked Marcus about his past. He told her stories of Earth, of his life as an explorer who had traveled to many worlds, but always returned to help others. Elira admired his strength and kindness. In return, Elira shared more about her mission, the reason she was here. She spoke of the ancient artifact hidden on this planet, a powerful object her people believed could change the fate of the galaxy. Marcus listened carefully. "If it's so important, we must find it before others do," he said. "There are those who would use such power for harm." Elira nodded. "That is why I cannot fail." Together, they planned their next steps. The outpost Marcus had spoken of was near, but dangerous people might be there too. They would have to be careful. As night fell, they'd made camp in a small cave. The fire flickered, casting shadows on the walls. Elira looked at Marcus, feeling a growing bond between them. "You have given me hope," she said softly. Marcus smiled. "And you have reminded me why we explore, to find friendship and trust, even in the darkest places." The stars shone bright outside, and for a moment, the world felt a little less lonely. The morning sun rose slowly, painting the sky with soft pink and orange colors. Elira and Marcus left their small cave camp, moving carefully toward the outpost Marcus had told her about. The journey was tiring, but Elira felt stronger with each step. She trusted Marcus more and more. The outpost was not far now. A small cluster of buildings made from metal and stone, surrounded by a fence. Smoke rose gently from chimneys, and Elira could see people moving about, some speaking loudly, others working quietly. It was a place of safety, or at least it looked that way. As they approached, Marcus lowered his voice. "This place is a crossroads. Travelers and traders come here from all over, but it is also a place where secrets hide, and not all who visit have good intentions." Elira nodded, feeling a chill run down her spine. "We must be careful." They entered the outpost quietly. The people here were a mix of different species, some human, some alien, all watching the newcomers with suspicion. Elira felt eyes on her, and she kept close to Marcus. At the center of the outpost was a large building, the hub for information and communication. Marcus led Elira inside, where the walls were lined with maps, screens, and data consoles. A few people worked at terminals, their faces serious and focused. Marcus approached a tall woman with sharp eyes. "I need help," he said. "This is Elira. She's from another world, and she needs assistance." The woman looked Elira up and down, then nodded slowly. "We don't get many visitors like you," she said. "What brings you here?" Elira took a deep breath and began to tell her story. The crash, the mission, and the artifact her people sought. She spoke carefully, aware that not everyone here could be trusted. The woman listened, then frowned. "That artifact is known to many. It is powerful and dangerous. If it falls into the wrong hands, it could cause great harm." Marcus placed a hand on Elira's shoulder. "We intend to keep it safe." The woman's eyes softened. "Then you will need allies, and you will need to move quickly." Over the next hours, Elira learned more about the history of this planet. Long ago, it had been a place of peace and knowledge. But greed and fear had brought war, and many secrets were lost or hidden. The artifact was one of those secrets, buried deep beneath the surface. Marcus and Elira decided to rest in the outpost for the night. As they prepared for sleep, Elira's thoughts drifted to her people and the responsibility she carried. The artifact was not just an object. It was a key to the future. Marcus noticed her quiet mood. "What troubles you?" Elira looked at him. "The mission was my duty. But now, I wonder if I can protect what is so important." Marcus smiled gently. "You are stronger than you think, and you are not alone." The next day, they planned their journey to the hidden location where the artifact was said to be buried. It would be dangerous. The path was unknown, and others might be searching for the same prize. As they prepared to leave, a messenger arrived with urgent news. A group of hostile forces was moving toward the outpost, seeking the artifact. Time was running out. Elira and Marcus exchanged determined looks. They had to act fast. Together, they gathered supplies and set off on the next stage of their journey, deeper into the wildlands. The air was heavy with tension, but also hope. Elira's fate was changing, not just because of chance or kindness, but because she had found a companion who believed in her mission. The road ahead was uncertain, but Elira was ready. With Marcus by her side, she would face whatever challenges came to protect the secret that could change the galaxy. The sky was a pale blue, dotted with soft clouds as Elira and Marcus made their way through dense forests and rocky hills. The outpost was now far behind them, and the quiet of the wild surrounded them. Each step took them closer to the hidden place where the ancient artifact was said to be buried. But with every step, the weight of the mission pressed harder on Elira's heart. The journey was not easy. The forest was thick and full of strange sounds. Bird calls Elira had never heard, rustling leaves, and the occasional snap of a twig underfoot. Elira felt her senses sharpen, alert for any sign of danger. Marcus moved confidently, scanning their surroundings with careful eyes. They had been traveling together for many days now. Elira trusted Marcus more deeply than she had ever trusted anyone outside her own people. He was brave, wise, and kind, a rare combination in a universe so often filled with conflict. But Elira knew their journey was more than just about trust or survival. It was about a choice she had to make, a choice that could change not only her life, but the fate of many worlds. One evening, as they set up camp near a quiet river, Elira sat beside the fire, staring into the flames. Marcus watched her silently for a moment, then asked, "What's on your mind?" Elira sighed. "This mission was given to me by my people. They want the artifact to protect their world. But if it falls into the wrong hands, it could bring disaster. I wonder, should I trust humans with such power?" Marcus nodded thoughtfully. "It's a hard question. But power is dangerous no matter who holds it. What matters is who uses it, and why." Elira looked up at him, her eyes searching. "You have helped me. You have shown me kindness and courage. But I don't know if all humans are like you." Marcus smiled gently. "We are not perfect, but we learn and we grow. And sometimes the best way to protect something precious is to trust others, to share the burden." The fire crackled softly, and for a moment, The world felt still and quiet. Elira felt the truth in Marcus's words. Trust was not easy, but it was the only path forward. The next morning, they reached the edge of a deep canyon, the place Marcus believed hid the entrance to the artifact's resting place. The walls of the canyon were steep and covered with strange markings, signs of an ancient civilization long gone. Elira studied the symbols, her knowledge of alien languages helping her understand their meaning. The markings told a story of power and mourning, how the artifact had been sealed to protect the galaxy from chaos. Together, Elira and Marcus searched the canyon floor, looking for any sign of a hidden entrance. After hours of careful searching, Elira's hand brushed against a stone that moved slightly. She pushed it aside, revealing a narrow tunnel leading downward into darkness. "We found it," she whispered, a mixture of relief and fear in her voice. Marcus lit a small torch, and they stepped into the tunnel. The air was cool and smelled of earth and stone. As they moved deeper, the walls glowed faintly with strange crystals, casting an eerie light. The tunnel twisted and turned, but Elira's knowledge guided them. Finally, they reached a large chamber where the artifact rested on a pedestal, a smooth, glowing orb that pulsed with energy. Elira approached slowly, feeling the power radiate from the orb. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. She reached out, her fingers trembling, and touched the surface. A warm light filled the chamber, and images flashed in her mind. Visions of peace, war, hope, and destruction. Marcus watched her quietly, understanding the moment's importance. Elira stepped back and looked at Marcus. "This power is greater than I imagined. I cannot keep it to myself." Marcus nodded. "Then what will you do?" Elira took a deep breath. "I will trust humanity. I will share the responsibility of protecting this artifact with you." Marcus smiled, relief and pride shining in his eyes. "Together, we can protect it, and maybe build a better future." As they prepared to leave the chamber, Elira felt a sense of peace she had not known before. Her fate was no longer a lonely path. It was shared with a human who had become her ally, her friend. Outside, the sun was rising, bright and full of promise. The sky was painted with the soft colors of dawn as Elira and Marcus stepped out of the ancient chamber. The glowing orb, the artifact that had been the heart of their journey, was safely secured in a special container designed to hold its energy without harm. The air was fresh with the morning breeze, carrying a quiet hope that seemed to touch everything around them. Elira took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. For days, she had carried the burden of this mission alone. But now, beside Marcus, the burden felt lighter. Together, they had faced danger, fear, and uncertainty, and together, they had found a new path. "We have to protect this," Elira said quietly. "Not just for my people, but for all who live in the galaxy." Marcus nodded. "And we will. But first, we must return to the outpost. It's not safe to stay here." They began their journey back, moving swiftly but carefully through the wildlands. Elira's mind was full of questions. What would happen when others learned they had the artifact? Would they try to take it by force? Would the peace they hoped for be broken? As they neared the outpost, they saw signs of activity, smoke rising higher than before, and the sound of voices carried on the wind. Elira's heart tightened with worry. When they arrived, the outpost was alert. Guards stood at the gates, watching the horizon. Elira and Marcus showed the leaders the artifact and explained what had happened. The leaders listened closely, their faces serious. "This changes everything," one of them said. "With this power, we can protect the galaxy, or destroy it." Elira looked at the group, knowing the truth in their words. The artifact was both a gift and a danger. "We must form an alliance," Marcus said. "Different worlds, different peoples working together to guard this power." The leaders agreed, and plans were made to send messages to nearby planets, calling for unity and peace. Elira felt a new hope rising within her, a hope that their journey was only the beginning of something greater. That night, Elira and Marcus sat beneath the stars, the glowing orb safely locked away nearby. The silence was peaceful, but filled with promise. "You changed my fate," Elira said softly to Marcus. "When I was lost and afraid, you gave me food, trust, and friendship." Marcus smiled. "You gave me hope. Hope that even in a vast and dangerous universe, kindness can still grow." They looked up at the stars, feeling connected to something bigger than themselves. The galaxy was wide and full of mystery, but also full of possibility. Elira knew that their mission was not over. Many challenges lay ahead, but she was ready. Together, they would protect the artifact and work toward a future where different worlds could live in peace. Her fate had changed because a human had given her food. And so much more. She had found a friend, an ally, and a new destiny. The future was unknown, but Elira smiled, knowing she would face it with courage and hope.